this charge significantly.
Yeah, we have to
The-
change
change
the
the co-
charge
And meet with the committee and
and
figure
the
out
composition.
exactly what people we have to put on the committee.
Mhm.
And then if everybody that's on it now wants to stay,
Right.
can we keep them all on the
Well,
committee?
I think we can keep up to 12, and there's only
I'm not
7
sure.
voting members. I
Okay.
don't know if that's our policy or if that's
That's
something
the,
beyond that. But
yeah, MSBA policy, that's
Yeah.
fine. It does have a slot for other, like the specific,
Mhm.
Right.
specific positions have to be filled, and it has other, and it just asks you to explain who each person is and what, what their specialty is or what they bring to the committee, so.
Yeah, Dr. Mambo, can you get in touch with the chairman, Chuck Carucci,
Sure.
and ask him his membership if they can attend our next meeting, and provide them with copies of the charge and that list of the positions. Some of the existing members may already fill some of those.
Right.
We just
Yeah.
don't know. And then when they come to our meeting, we'll have identified which ones we need to fill.
When's the next meeting, Warren? Is it on?
Today's January 23rd.
February 8th, is it?
I think it
Yes.
is, yes.
February 8th. February 8th.
Yep.
And I think that we ought to be moving very rapidly.
I was gonna say the same thing.
We're potentially still gonna be in a depressed market situation.
Otherwise,
when
we'll
we
never be
get to
ready for
construct-
opening in September.
Oh, it gets a great.
But I agree, absolutely.
If we could get the package together so that for our next meeting, if we can have the people we need to get lined out and a new document for the charge, so we can take action at our next meeting on it.
Right.
Well, who has to change, do we have to change the charge in a public
We
meeting, or
changed the charge.
do we have to do that in a public meeting, or
Yes,
do we?
but, yeah, and we have to vote on it, but we have to be in concert with the Board of Selectmen for appointing new members.
Right.
It's a joint appointment, but a single charge.
I think Cliff's point is, if you look at, we probably got that entire turf field project for about 60% of what we expected it to cost.
Yeah.
And that's
You're
because of
reading my
market
mind.
conditions.
Mhm.
So, I think he's right. I think if we sit around and wait, prices start going up again, we're gonna be penalized for that.
I don't see the economy coming up quick.
No.
So we have the draft of the,
So-
or the old charge, we just have to
We,
email me individually your suggestions for change. I will have a unified suggestion for our next meeting. And we'll get the members here. The other thing I wanted to ask, Keith, all the forms that are supposed to be completed and submitted to date, has Town Hall done that?
No, we have like 4 forms that worked.
Well, we have 4 forms that are being worked on now. I think at the last meeting, Greg took one of them and said he would take care of that.
Right.
The
Okay.
enrollment form is us.
Right.
So
There
we're.
was a maintenance form, right?
Yeah, there was a maintenance form that
Carl and Wayne were working
and
on.
Wayne are working on. So
Okay.
we have not submitted any forms beyond the SOIs. These are the forms we got in response to.
Okay, and then we'll meet with the building committee at our next meeting. If we're gonna maintain Durham Whittier, which, from what I read, we legally can, maybe they can confirm that feasibility cost, and we can present it for a warrant article at April town meeting.
So that's another.
Or we can work with the finance and board of selectmen for funding.
In terms of the architect, I was under the impression that the state's going to tell us who to use. Isn't that what they,
Well, you know what, Durham Whittier, they're on top of those new regulations.
actually, weren't they doing the school down in Rockland, that joint, when Brad
Oh,
Dorr
did
was
they
here?
Yeah, I know he mentioned it, I didn't know if they were,
I
they worked it.
think they might have been working on that, but that got approved,
It got
that
approved.
project, so
Right,
if they were working on that, then they're obviously an approved architect by the MSBA.
the closer we can get in identifying that number, we'll
Yeah.
work in concert with the finance and the board of selectmen, and we'll get that funding moving.
Well, I remember, I don't know how far they went, but we did a lot of work researching that core school with the high school and middle school feeding off that. We did a lot of work on that.
and I have a feeling that that was probably not grandiose.
Right.
I think that was probably, as we do everything here, we skinned it down to something that was fully adequate and would be very nice to have,
Right.
but not grand.
All right, that's what I
We did
remember.
spend money on geotech studies, which lent itself to the combined
Yep.
building.
Yep.
And I bet you we didn't spend all of it, because we shifted gears towards the individual high schools. So there may be funds in that warrant article that might help offset the feasibility, or
There's
at
a
least
balance.
get some of those necessary test results in for us. So there is some things we could be working, if there were funds in that line item.
And the last feasibility study that I could find, this most recent one, actually the recommended plan was a combination middle school, high school with the common buildings in the middle, so,
Great.
like what you're saying, there's a lot of the work's already been done.
Right. Good, so, and then, once we meet with Chuck Carucci and his group, we'll have some public input sessions and start just really pushing the project. It's a switch from what we were looking at, and it will involve this whole neighborhood up here too, so now we've got a new project.
If we could move along with the same architect, if that's permissible under the new program. I have a feeling it is, but if it is, that's going to save us a lot of effort,
Right.
a lot of time. We'll be able to move much more rapidly on it.
Great. Okay, anything else on the building project? You gonna stay on that seat, Jerry?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And your role is as a voting member, right?
Voting member, yep.
We'll have to consider the Board of Selectmen, I think they said Sean Delaney, we would have to make that a voting role as well. Okay. Let's see, moving on. The 2009 annual report.
Yeah, I did an annual report for the school committee, and I thought you might want to look at it before I submit it. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. If you found it to be okay, you just say you can approve it, and I will send it to Town Hall. Basically, it's the same format as the other annual reports. Dr. Troughton usually had a thing that said, results, and I don't have the results, so I left it out. I didn't want to make anything up, and then
That's when we give ourselves A's,
Yeah.
good results.
Mrs. Lundell added the school committee membership and special projects, and frankly, I think it's a marvelous report.
We're doing an annual
Well
report every year.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have to.
So, anyone have any changes, recommendations? Do we have a motion then?
I'm going to approve the North Reading School Committee 2009 annual report.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have a request from Mr. Fauché for a middle school science club.
Yeah, the middle school science club actually exists. It's not a new club, but it just hasn't been operating. And Mr. Fauché came down and spoke with Carl and myself about getting it going, because he had his two science teachers, Mr. Shute and Ms. McNiff, who would like to kind of expand the scope of it and make it ecology, recycling. There's an awful lot of recycling done at the middle school, but they feel they can do much more. And of course, being very conscious of the budget, we wanted to know how this was going to work. And Mr. Fauché has indicated, it's not in the article you got tonight, but he's indicated that it would be self-supporting, that he would charge half the activity fee, because it's going to run for half a year, and he would have to have 12 new people that aren't paying the activity as of this point to cover the cost of this thing. He anticipates actually that, from talking to the two teachers, that it would probably, he'd probably have a club of 28 to 30 kids.
Wow, great.
So it's not something that you have to approve the existence of the club because it exists. It just has not been funded and it's not running, so I think if you give us permission to, restart the club, that would be fine, and I would certainly recommend it.
I will then make a motion to approve officially the middle school eco-science club.
Second.
Second, any further discussion? I think anytime you can engage middle school kids in any productive, healthy program, you go forward, so, all those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you very much.
We have bills and payroll, which are all set.
Yep.
Minutes from January 11th.
I actually did have some changes, just so you know, being a resident reader and.
No, I don't have any, so I'm glad to accept them.
I just wanted to clarify on C1 on page 2, where it talks about our discussion on rates to the top. It talks about RTT as a regulation, imposition of regulations, and not regulations. So it's
Right.
an opt-in grant program. So if we could revise it to state, I rewrote it the following: the committee believes that the district is already fulfilling the RTT goals, and to superimpose outside guidelines would only disrupt the process.
I think that's better.
With those changes outstanding, I don't have anything else, and I would move to approve the January 11th open session minutes.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain, Lauren, I wasn't there.
Okay, Jerry abstaining. In the executive session?
I thought we-
Very fine.
There's in the middle of the second paragraph under executive session, there's an exist for, and therefore I think
Oh, it should
that
say,
for should
the
come
for
out.
should be gone, right, the word for, so it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth line down, under the second paragraph, under executive session, the word for after exist does not have to be there.
I think that is the
Good catch.
So Cliff makes a motion with that change, so we're second. All those in favor?
I'll abstain.
One more abstention. Okay, budget update, Cal?
Thank you. You have in front of you in your packet the latest budget report. Pleased to report that our budget's in good shape. Beginning to feel optimistic about the fact that there will be no budget reversions this year. Remember, we did experience one last year. So we had been conservative with our approval of purchase orders and conservative with encumbrances, thinking if there was something that occurred late in the year, we needed to have funds available to return. But I don't think that's going to be the case. The schools and the departments are, as I noted in the cover note, did receive a 5% across the board reduction this year. So things are tight for them, but they're working very cooperatively. We continue, although the library is a little warm today.
Yeah, it really is.
Don't want you to get the wrong idea. We are, you know,
Too
It was
hot.
a warm day.
a little bit, isn't it?
Just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we have, we know what our pricing is all the way through next fall, because we bought natural gas lots, so our pricing is very good. So that's always one of the few areas where we have some discretion. Salaries are pretty much on schedule. We are seeing an expansion of maternity leaves this year, which have some costs for us, but they are budgeted in our substitute line. So I'm quite confident that this year is going pretty well. Happy to answer any questions.
No, once it's going fine. Keep up the good work.
I like that message.
Future business.
There's only one thing. We got the mailing from MASC about the training program for charting the course for new and returning with broken service school committee members. And I just, because Sarah Ketty has to be trained within a year of her election or so.
I think it's gonna take long.
Until May 8th.
Yes.
They give these,
I
they give
still-
these things once a month,
Yeah.
Right,
and they change the location.
yes.
Right.